Good evening, everybody out there in the fantastic known world. This is Nights Live. Thank you for coming by. I am your host, Baron Logan Path Warden, and today is April 1st. It is a fantastic evening, and for all of you who thought that you would be seeing Duke John and Graf Ulrich, I'm very, very sorry. They're here. So, April Fool's on you. They're still here. So, let's get them in here, welcome them in, and let's get this show started. How about that? Gentlemen, welcome, and thank you for being on the show. Let's let you introduce yourselves, and then I'll shut up and we'll get started with the questions.
All right. Well, thank you. In the society, I'm a Duke John the Bearkiller called the Bastard. I am a Knight of the Society, a Royal Peer, a Pelican. I have been in the SCA since 1974. I was a transplant from science fiction conventions. I've been a Knight since 1970, 74 in, 77 as a Knight, which is probably longer than most of the people watching this show have been alive.
It is not longer than I've been alive, but it is longer than I've been in the SCA. I am Graf Ulrich von Brandenburg. I'm a Knight, a Pelican, and a Royal Peer. I have been in the SCA since 1999 and a Knight since 2006.
Well, welcome again, and thank you, gentlemen, for being on here. Before we get started, I have to remind everybody that this show, or at least the second half of it, relies entirely on you. We need your fantastic questions. Now, we've already gotten a few questions in, but if you're going to send some questions in, type them right into the comments over there. And don't forget to include your SCA name and title so that I can, murder it terribly because I'm terrible with names. So, but it's part of the fun, right? All right, so gentlemen, thank you again for being on the show. Let's get to these questions. How about that? All right, so we always open the show with this question: how did you get involved in the SCA? What brought you in?
I found the SCA at a Scottish fair in Boulder, Colorado. I was out visiting my grandmother while she was in the hospital, and went over to that. We were walking through the aisles with my cousin, and out of nowhere, I look off to the side, and there's 10, 12 people rolling around in the dirt, batting, whacking the heck out of each other with sticks. And I walked straight over and was like, "This looks amazing. How do I do this?" Went from there to Desert Storm. Couldn't find, lost the SCA when I was doing that. 10 years later, found it here in Huntsville, Alabama.
Excellent, and the rest is history, as they say.
And the rest is history.
Thank you for your service, Shep. I appreciate it. I got in prior to the SCA. Went to a lot of science fiction cons. Saw the same two guys in chainmail at like 3 cons in a row, including Worldcon in Washington, D.C. It's like, saw these same two guys. Was at a convention in Nashville in summer of 74. My friend and we were at the con, guy kicked the door open, said, "Hey, this great SCA thing is starting up in the state of Tennessee. Give me your memberships and you can join. You get to hit people with sticks. You get to dress up. It's kind of like a con, except fun." Which, we did not really agree with that. So at that time, I gave, my friend's name was Dennis. I gave this guy $3 for 2 memberships. And then a little bit later, a couple of weeks later, I started getting calls on my dorm at college from this guy from the Society for Creative Anarchism. And my roommate kept getting this message, true story, in the end of Vietnam. Finally, it was a transplant student who went from Atlanta to Memphis, where he lived, back and forth when he was in school. He was a member of the Atlanta group, and he got us started. So myself and 5 members of the University of Memphis Comic Club, a intrepid group of male and female geeks of the highest order, fell in love with the concept and all transferred over to the SCA about at the same time.
I love asking that question. We get so many different answers. It's always amazing to hear how people got started for the first time. So, and then we come up with our other question is, what keeps you coming back? Why stay in the SCA?
So, I was this big, lug, geeky young guy who drank too much and was just the biggest goof in the world. And I got treated really nicely. People welcomed me. They put up with my inane lack of couth, encouraged me. And my first decade or so in the SCA, I made a lot of mistakes, but people taught me and to be a better person. And I got my wife and our son out of that marriage from the SCA. And it keeps me in to know that there's just a whole lot of people I got a lot of red in my ledger, and I'm still paying it back. And I don't think I'll ever do that. But some of these people are just the greatest in the world, and it's worth having my old butt hang around.
My answer is not going to be too far off John's, actually. So the me that was before the SCA had some lofty ideas and wanted to be a better person, but it turns out that as a young man, I was a bit of an asshole, and I was a bit of an asshole coming into the SCA as well. And I got straightened up and flown right a bit, and I owe a lot of that to a lot of the people in the SCA. I owe a lot of it to my upbringing too, but I owe a lot of it to the people in the SCA and how the SCA has made me a better person. So the friendships and family that I have made in the SCA, to go along with the friendships that I've made, has made me a better person. And part of me just wants to give back, and I do like hitting people in the head with sticks.
That's always a bonus, right?
Right. It's great for working out your aggressions.
So, as you guys know, this show is all about unbelts, not just fighters, but we find that a lot of the things that we talk about pertain to, excuse me, to the other peerage paths as well. So, what do you think was your biggest hurdle as an unbelt? What was holding you back from attaining the accolade?
So my mouth. My mouth did a whole lot of this, and I'm not talking about I was braggy. I was holier than thou about a lot of stuff. This is wrong. We need to fix this, and you're doing this wrong. This needs to be fixed, and it had to work to the point where I learned how to say things, not to not say things, just how to say them better, or how to make them, instead of being bluntly honest and boldly honest, how to make people understand that things needed to work in a certain way and make them okay with it. With tact, I needed to learn tact, my wife tells me. And so when I learned some tact, it went a lot better for me. That was my big thing.
It's almost like courtesy is a knightly virtue or something.
Almost.
I guess mine is kind of similar to Ulrich's. I was arrogant, had a big mouth. I had not actually refined the ability to talk to people about intelligent things. Yeah, I'd get a couple beers in me, and I was just crude and thought I was funny. Didn't mean to hurt anybody, but I just say anything. The greatest challenge for my knight, Francois, was to teach me patience, because I had none, and by God, I told everybody that it was all about me. So I was like holier than thou, but not about holier than thou over anything that was important. Just
Right.
Dumb and selfish. It took a while to get over that.
Excellent answers, gentlemen. Thank you for sharing with us. All right. So now, along with that, this is one of my favorite questions, and I don't answer or ask it very often, but I was curious to hear what the two of you would say. Who is your SCA hero, and why, if you have
I've got several. My
one?
night hero is the man who did something badly in a previous life and was punished with me as his squire, Sir Francois Duvant, who is an awesome fighter, gorgeous Frenchman, beautiful to watch, genteel. And I was this little troll thing that refused to carry his armor because I was too busy to, I needed to fight. And he spent a good bit of time, even after I became a peer, demonstrating why we should do stuff and why we should be better than what we think. He made me pay attention to the details that a blind young man would not have seen. He was a perfect knight for me, and he taught me everything about being a knight. There are a lot of other people, oh my gosh, so many others, but Francois is at the top of the list, and most everybody who knew him, he passed away a while ago, but most everybody who knew him loved him and respected him, and he probably most of their opinions are pretty much identical to mine, which is awe and the patience of Job to put up with me and my shenanigans. He taught me a lot.
Squire me would tell you that it was his knight, Sir Connell MacDale, a wise and influential knight. But his knight, my knight, Sir Connell, explained to me when I said that at one point that I was absolutely wrong, that the flower of chivalry and Meridies and the person that I should look up to was Earl Richard Rayton. And knight me realizes that both the Squire me and his knight, Sir Connell, were both correct. And Richard taught my knight, and my knight learned from Richard. And Richard, God rest his soul, was one amazing man, and he always strove to do what was right. He failed like all of us do, but he strove to be better the next day than he was the day before. And he did a lot to form my version and my view of the SCA through both his actions and his training of my knight.
Excellent.
He was intimidating as hell too. Don't let Ulrich get beyond into the sainthood thing. So he
was a mean man, but he made you love him
for it. That's awesome. Okay, so we'll go on to the next question here. But after that one, I'm gonna go a little off script. So all the young belts out there, they want to be knights. Well, if you're walking the path, then that's your ultimate goal, right? But they don't know. A lot of them don't know how to approach a knight in order to be squired, or if they even should. So, what do you think? So, first off, what do you look for in a squire, and do you think that they should approach you, or that you should approach them, as far as a knight squire relationship being formed?
I look for them to want to walk the path and to want to learn what the path is about. Main thing I want them to have is passion, and I want to say dedication, but that's not really what I want to say. I want them to love what we do, or at least enjoy it and be willing to open their mind to how different things are going to work. I don't mind if they ask me. Younger knight me would have said no, absolutely, it's the knight's job to ask the squire. Don't be so ask me if you think, and we'll talk about it. But I'm much more about. Okay, so right now, especially here in Meridies, you get authorized, and a night has watched you authorized, correct? And soon as 2 nights are watching you. If you show any talent, 7 nights are watching you, and 3 months in, someone's offered you a squire's belt, and we're like, no, just chill out, enjoy yourself, have some fun, enjoy the STA, play, don't have any responsibilities, don't have anything else. And then in about a year, look at, maybe if you're still interested in walking that path, look at a night, or maybe approach a night if you're interested. Enjoy the SCA. That's what I'm looking for. And for me, a good fit. Hang out with me if you're really interested in being my squire. Say, hey, can I hang out with you? Can we see how we match up? And at some point, you'll have to take a 6-hour car ride with me and see if I hate you at the end. Or you hate me, possibly.
That's a good answer, Ulrich. What do I look for in a squire? I during my active fighting crown list, going to tournaments and traveling, I was kind of known for having a large number of squires. I came in when I came in, part that was Aitenvelt, it became Meridies, then became Glenavon in the northwest section of the South in Tennessee. I was the first night. We didn't have a lot of people, so I ended up taking a number of students. I was very lucky to have some very good ones. But the one thing that we always tried to do is have some type of a connection, some communication. If you look at the attributes of being a knight, you look at what you're supposed to be when you become a peer, how you're supposed to be the fighters, how you're supposed to be part of the order itself in skill and hopefully above in behavior. That's a lot of things that you could possibly connect to somebody. I've tried to find that connection, something we had as an interest in doing something in the SCA so that we can work together. I've always believed in, if you are going to be a student, it is your job to make you a knight. It is your job to make yourself a peer. It is not my job. I cannot do that. That has to come from within. And if you show that in some way that you understand that just because you're my squire or Ulrich's squire or anybody else's squire, that you will get to be a knight now, or any type of peer, you get it because you do that work yourself. And if I see that in somebody, I would have considered them as a squire and talked to them about it. Oddly enough, I was always a lot pickier on my proteges as a pelican than I was as a knight. But then that's because I had, 20 years of activity before I became a pelican. And anybody, I did it in multiple ways. Sometimes I guess I was too approachable, but I didn't mind if somebody came up to me and talked to me, or if I found somebody that might be interested, I would, try to talk to them. If you don't know the knight well enough to talk and you are interested or would like to know more information, I urge you to, talk to a squire, or talk to a member of their household, talk to somebody who knows them and just say, hey, what's the best way to approach this person I don't know very well, but I think might be a good fit. I think you should always discuss it on some level rather than sit back and think you're not good enough or whatever. And on the other hand, it is the responsibility of the knight of the peers, if you do get approached, to be a good, gentle person. And you may not be able to do it, but for God's sakes, treat them as a human. And remember that 2, 3, 4 years down the line, they may be whooping your ass on the field or serving a feast or running a kingdom or doing anything, because you never know who is going to do what. And that may be the person that stops on the side of the road to change your tire when you're stranded. So if you do get asked and you can't do it, tell them, but always try to make a good attempt to communicate.
Right. Not just make it so that they know that they're not being blown off. That you
Mhm.
just can't at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go a little bit off script here because of something that we were talking about before the show. So if you did not see the announcement today, the SCA as a whole has decided that on June 1st of this year, we will be allowed to have in-person events again. As long as the kingdom and the crowns where you are have decided that that will be okay. Some parts of the country are still a little shakier than others, but we were talking about that's great. It's a fantastic thing. I know that we're all excited to get back out there and to get back on the field. Like I know I want to hit my friends with sticks so badly. I can almost taste it. However, we've been down for a year. And we were talking about, getting into fighting and everything again. So what would you guys suggest as a good way to ease ourselves back in?
If you haven't fought for a year, there are quite a few people who have been doing some private practices and working out. I know a lot of people who have done some weight training, but if you've been out for a while, be careful. Look at this as where we just got through or getting through. We're not through. We're still in the middle of a pandemic and we have to ease back in. So consider doing that for fighting. It's take your time, maybe start doing a little warm-up exercise now, but and by all means, before you get on the field, when you get to an event, stretch, because there's nothing like a year of tight tendons to go all the way out of control if you decide that you're just going to go all beast mode on somebody. So take it slow, gauge yourself. Don't listen to anybody else. Listen to your body and work your way into it, and you will last a lot longer, and you may even have the stamina to surpass all of some even a better fighter sometimes. So just work yourself out. Be careful.
I was also going to go with stretch, but on top of that, when you start to get back into armor, first off, try your armor back on. Put your armor back on. Logan mentioned this in the pre-show. Put your armor back on. Make sure it fits. Some of us have put on some COVID pants. Some of us have taken off some COVID pants. So your armor is going to need some adjustment. So do that. Walk around your armor. Stretch in your armor. Stretch before you get in your armor, and stretch in your armor to make sure you know how it moves with you again. Do some pellet work in your armor. Do some slow work in your armor, so that you're used to it being there, and so you know where it pinches now. And I'm going to say the big bad F word. It's okay to do some foam work. You can fight with some foam, and not take some of the soft tissue injuries that you'll take later on against that guy that's been doing some private practices, or maybe he has 4 or 5 guys, or if he had 4 or 5 people in their pod, and they've been fighting, for months or for a year, and you haven't. So some foam work will help get through those soft tissue injuries. And by the way, I'm not a medical professional. That's just years of fighting.
We can throw the Views Express banner up again. Yeah.
Right.
I myself am an unlicensed doctor. So if you want to listen to me, that's on you. Because but anyway, so, and here's the thing, please don't sue us. Here's the thing. Well, okay, so you guys can sue us, but I think I've got some candy over here. That's all. That's pretty much about what I'm worth. So, but please don't. However, I will say, a lot of people have been putting off those little armor repairs and everything because they didn't know when things were going to be back. Well, now you do, and you've still got time. Go fix those straps. Go bang on those rivets. Go knock those dents out that you haven't looked at for a year because, hey, I tell you, the 1st of June, I am looking to hit somebody with a stick. I want to hit somebody with. I know I'm going to get hit, but I want to hit somebody. Your Excellency.
Put your helmet on. Put your mask on. Put your helmet on over the mask. Get used to that.
Absolutely.
It's going to be different. It's going to be different.
I had there was a fighter that I knew who every time he changed out his armor, like he added something or took something away, he would vacuum his whole house with his armor on. Because there's tons of motions and you have to like squat to get under things and all that, and he would use that as a gauge to see, am I getting pinch points or anything like that? Is this going to work? So, yeah, I would suggest.
Oh, I was just going to say, if he needs another place to work out, he can come over to my place. That'd be great.
Being in your armor is sexy. My wife loves it when I vacuum the house in my armor.
I bet you she does.
I bet. My wife always tells me, it's sexy when I cook. It's sexy when I clean. It's sexy. I think she's just trying to get me to do housework.
Now you got it.
Yeah. All right, Jen. So we'll get back onto our regularly scheduled questions here. We're almost at the halfway point, but I think we have time for one more. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to do one of my favorite questions that we got from a viewer who wishes to remain anonymous. But this is one of my favorite questions that's ever been sent in. What is your favorite piece of armor? And does it have a story behind it, or is it just pretty? Is it just functional?
Oh, okay. So my favorite just one. All right, I have two. I say that just one, but I have two. But it's the same piece of armor. I have two Richard of Wolfwood helms that are not Wolf Armory helms that are one of a kind. I have a stainless steel Richard of Wolfwood helm, which he doesn't make those. So I'm super honored to have that, and that's really special to me. And then the other one I have is a Roman cavalry helm with a giant crest and the crosses on the front. It's like a galaxy or something. I can't remember which one it's called, but it happened. We were sitting at Lily's one day, and we were talking about this helmet. And Richard started geeking out about the helmet, and I started geeking out about the helmet. He started making sketches, and the next thing you know, I had crosses designed into the helmet, and where the crest was going to sit, how it was. And he was just like, "All right, I'm making you this helmet." And that was the discussion. It wasn't like, "Hey, would you make me a helmet?" It was, "I'm making you this helmet," and that's it quickly became my favorite piece of armor outside of my Nutty Buddy. If you don't have a Nutty Buddy, get a Nutty Buddy. They're amazing.
All right, we don't do unpaid promotions on this show, so. Why does your crest give you an extra life?
So I stopped fighting with the crest. Actually, I gave that crest away years ago as an item credit to someone, because people love to knock it off. My crest was attached by magnets. And so anything that you wear is part of your armor. So if you have something that hangs down from your arms, if you have a crest on your head, if you have a visor and it's hit, all that's part of your armor, and you should call it the way it's struck. Well, the problem was people would knock my crest off, and I wouldn't know because it was a magnet. It was magnetized, and it would just go flying off. Now, usually a lot of times they were trying to knock the crest off my helm, but they weren't always trying to knock the crest off my helm. And sometimes I would knock it off with a cross shot. I'd throw a cross shot and knock my own crest off this way.
Right.
But the problem was also sometimes shots would come in on the top of my helm, and I wouldn't feel them because they would just push into the hair on top of the crest, and I would never know that it ended. So it became a bit of an issue. Someone talked to me about it, and I would then go on the field, and when the fight went to start, I would take the crest off and throw it aside. Because you don't want that reputation, right? Even if it's incidental and not intentional, you don't want that reputation.
Right.
So that's why it gave me an extra life occasionally.
I guess my favorite armor at one time, outside of my full set of Japanese plate, was my Swiss Miss outfit, which was a leather breastplate with little strips that hung down right above my knee, where I could wear nothing under my armor except for that and show off my manly legs. What I thought was very attractive, turns out it wasn't, but I loved it, and it managed to piss off guys with better stuff. So that was always a win. Currently, it is my favorite piece of armor is this helmet, which goes back to around 1980, which belonged to my squire Kestrel of Torin, who wore it for decades, specifically because that fit his particular idiom. He was a good man, made all of his armor out of leather and cloth couches he found on the side of the road. He would gut them, skin them, prepare it, and make all kinds of armor out of it. And we lost him a while ago. That's a shame, but he wore that helmet painted bright orange for years because sometimes the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree when it comes to maybe going out of your way to make a little fun of the prettier fighters.
Well, okay. So with that being said, I know that you're also a fan of folks making themselves a little bit pretty or prettier. And we have a lot of folks out there who are doing like amazing artistic work with armor. But then we've also got a few folks out there who are doing, some munitions grade stuff that is still historic looking. How important is appearance on the field, do you think? I mean, I know our game is a little bit different. We have the creative part in our name. But do you basically what I'm asking is, in the years that you guys have been in the SEA, do you appreciate the change, like the move to more historic and authentic, or just better looking kits, or do you miss the carpet armor and the Freon can helms? Now I say this as the very first fighter practice I ever went to, I was in a Freon can helm, and I loved every second of it. So,
I don't miss Freon can helmets. Freon can helmets would wear out. The metal would get fatigued. If you got too many dents in your helmet, you take your helmet off, put it flat on the ground, take a hammer, grab the hammer by the head, and use the wooden hammer to put the dents back and put it back on. I was always considered a pajama knight. When I fought, I was all about expediency, though I did like to make some nice stuff, and I have had some really good stuff. But when I got in for the first decade or so, really good armorers in the society were kind of rare. Polydor Haraldson, a knight from the middle, a guy by the name of Sven Vanderleven, a guy in Atlanta, middle 70s, they were the epitome. They made great stuff. And there was no internet. There was no overseas way to get access that way. So over the years, this has all grown. We've added tons of really great armorers, and it is all a very positive thing. Appearance is important, but not more than making sure that you keep yourself within what you can do, what you can afford. Make sure what you wear is as good as you can without breaking your finances or doing anything. But it's overall, it's wonderful. We can get armor from everywhere, tons of good armors, and it has become the phrase over the last few decades. You want your kit to look great, and I think that is a good thing. But help other people out, share your talents. It's probably going to be a while before everybody is out in full fluted plate armor, and especially since we encourage representations from many cultures over a number of decades. But appearance is important, appearance is good, and I am amazed by what people can produce and what we can have now. And if you look back at old pictures going back through the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s up to now, you could just see a progression. Is it all, steadily upward? And that's great. But it should not become the only thing, and it should not become the defining thing for anybody in the SCA. It's part of what we do, but creative anachronism means kind of helping those or sharing those or tolerating those who don't fit the highest standards of the highest in the world. It's good, but there's a lot of other things that are just as important.
Gotcha.
I don't really think you need to look period perfect. Effort goes a long way. It's important to look nightly, to look the part, to act the part, to be the part. But the days of not being able to make your kit look better are really kind of gone. There are decades of old stuff in Tournaments Illuminated and that teach us how to make our equipment look better with less. So even if you can't afford a full halberd of nail, there's an old TI, I believe, that has a walkthrough of how to make it look like you have a full halberd on. So you can look the part with less cost. But even if you can't afford that part, being a pajama knight is okay if your stuff looks right. Vikings, not Norse. I realized that Norse Viking was a trade. Didn't wear a lot of mail when they jumped off the boat. They might have worn it when they got on the land, but when they first jumped off, you don't want to be in mail as you go underwater. It's a bad idea. So there was a whole lot of not wearing armor until you got to a point where you could. So there are representations that you can do of different levels of men at arms through the years that work in what we do. So the big part is, are you trying to look the part of your persona? Are you doing a decent job of putting the effort forth into it? But yes, appearance does matter. I rather infamously said to a squire on the field when our pickups were over, and he said, do you have any advice for me? And I said, well, you just whipped my ass 8 fights out of 10. So I don't have a whole lot to tell you about fighting, but you look like ass, and I don't mind losing to a squire. I don't mind losing to a squire that looks like you, but I hate losing to a squire on the middle of a fighting field, in the middle of a war, who looks like ass. So fix it. Now, I knew the guy, and he was a nice guy, and he understood what I meant. On the way leaving war that year, he stopped. He bought a helmet. He got home. He got his stuff together for his kit. He already had the service. He already had the arts. He looked like ass. Within a year, he was a knight.
Just from improving his franchise.
Just from improving his franchise.
Piece at a time, if you can. Forward steps are always good. It may take some longer than others.
Sure. Effort.
And I tell you, I have seen some fantastic plastic armors that go really, really awesomely under a tunic. I've seen plastic armor covered in canvas and painted.
Yeah.
That nobody would know that it's plastic armor underneath that canvas. And it looked fantastic. So I will say this: if you want to look better, you just got to find the people who will take your kit. Like you don't have to spend thousands of dollars for a new kit. You just need to find the people who are going to teach you how to fix the kit that you have. Cover the plastic. I recently in the last 4 or 5 years, I was told I cannot wear my period footwear to fight in anymore or to do any kind of athletic activities in anymore because it's just not supportive enough for all the problems that I have. So I guarantee you, come June 1st, I will be out there in my hiking boots, but you won't see that they're hiking boots. So, yeah, please, Your Excellency.
Humble yourself. Ask for help.
Yeah.
People are dying in the SA to help you be better, help you look better. This organization is so generous that it's ridiculous. I mean, it's a fantastic thing. If you go on somewhere and say, "Hey, I don't know how to do this," or "Hey, I live here. Is there anyone who can teach me how to do this?" When we get to the point where we can be around each other again, I can go over to Bob's house, and Bob can teach me, or Sue, or whoever can teach me how to make covering for my combat boots, because I have the artistic talent of an earthworm. So, if someone can show me, though, I'll be happy to learn. And there are always people happy to teach, or happy to do something to trade.
Mm-hmm.
If you run into somebody that you're talking to and they turn out to be an asshole, don't give up. Find somebody else. You will occasionally run into somebody that is just a turd. Could be a high position turd or a very talented turd. Don't stop. There are other people who, like Shep Ulrich says, and Logan, there are people who will help you. Don't make everything dependent upon one bad situation, because there are a lot of people who will help you. I know, because I've had a lot of people try to help me for years.
Absolutely. And I will say this one thing before we move on into our viewer questions. I recently joined a group on Facebook that was called Adopt a Jock, and basically it's a bunch of folks who they make garb, they make trim, they do all these little things, and you get on there and you put up you fill in the little thing. If you're a jock, you fill in the little form with all your measurements and everything, and your style and everything, and these people make stuff for you. Somebody adopts you, or several artisans adopt you, and they're going to make you not now. They're not going to make you a full outfit from head to toe without you helping them out a little bit. Paying for there it goes right up there. Without you paying for some fabric or whatever. But what they get out of it is more experience making clothing, jewelry, whatever it is, accoutrement. And what you get out of it is you get these people who are making you things so that you don't look like ass in the field. So it's a wonderful trade-off. So check it out. The link is in the comments right now. So gentlemen, we have already gone like 15 minutes over my allotted time for my questions. Right? I know it's terrible, but my viewers are evil and ravenous, and they will come after me if we don't get to their questions. So we're going to do that. But before we do that, I have to remind everybody out there watching that if you like this show, you like watching this show, you like what we're doing here, you got to help us out. First, I need you to pull back and flat snap the hell out of that like button. The more likes we get, the more we get around the internet. It really, really helps us out. So if you're watching right now and you're having a good time, it's free entertainment. All I ask is you go and click that little like button. Now, if you want to do a little bit more for us, this show is part of Kal-bardr's Corner Productions, and we have our Patreon right there. So what is Patreon for? Well, Patreon is so that you can throw a couple of bucks, either monthly or a one-time donation, if you can, just to help us keep running the stuff. It helps us pay for internet. I had to recently upgrade my internet so I could make sure that I have the right bandwidth and enough upload and everything to make sure that we keep getting this show out. I do this. Yeah. Oh, as you can get fun rewards. Something. Wait. So yeah. So basically, you're keeping our internet running. Like the new earbuds I got from from our wonderful Patreon supporters, so that I don't have the giant headphones on anymore. Yeah, like it's crazy. But you're basically making it easier for us to keep on doing the shows, and 100% of the money actually goes to the people who are doing the shows for specific things. Like we don't have a giant slush fund or anything like that because, well, we don't have any money. But like rewards, like maybe you'd like to have a chance to win an Ask the Knights sticker, huh? Yeah, you like that? You like that? Well, go join our Patreon and you'll be entered in to win something like that. Not to mention, it helps out all of the shows under Cowboys Corner Productions. So, if you can, maybe think about helping us out. Like I said, if you have a couple of spare ducats laying around. So, we need to get to these viewer questions before the angry mob gets to my door. So I'm going to hop over here. Oh my goodness gracious. So this first question is specifically for His Grace, John. And this comes from an anonymous source. They don't want to be named, but they had a question and they were wondering if you would tell a story from when you were a young squire. A story about you and the North Shield Coronet.
Which story? The North Shield Coronet.
Something about you as a squire, the North Shield Coronet, and maybe someone asked you to watch it and hilarity ensued.
Sadly, that particular story belongs to a gentleman by the name of James the Holy, who is a squire of one of my squires. His Grace James the Holy, when he was a squire, was told to at Estrella. A bunch of us were at Estrella. His knight Padrug, my squire, he was king at the time. He's Duke Padrug. Palled around with some North Shield royalty. I think the Crown Prince. They were intoxicated. The coronet of North Shields was given to James. Now this is I don't know this 100% true, but this is the story.
So hold on, Your Grace. Let me just interrupt you for 1 second.
Please.
I just want you to warn you. He's going to be on next week's show, and he's going to have a chance to
Holy is
to rebut this. Yes.
Oh
yes,
yeah. Oh, he will not rebut this.
Okay.
I know James. He will revel in this. He may try to dodge it. So at Estrella, he got a hold of it. The story is he went off somewhere, had his camera, took a picture of his Frank's, the beans from the Beans and Frank's, with next to the North Shield Coronet. That's the story. Now, it was certainly sounded true at the time. James worked his ass off at Estrella. His knight Padrug was, a typical crown at times, drunk, giving orders, being all pompous, and James just worked his butt off at that war as squire. So he and Padrug and the North Shield Crown Prince were buddies. And it's probably true. Yeah, James said he went to an Aidenville party, took the pictures, and I've never personally seen the pictures. I don't want to see the pictures. But the interesting thing about all of this is I was on the board of directors, and about 3 months later, we had a board meeting, and there were some North Shield people there. And I was talking to him at dinner, and I was like, well, he had a squire, and he put his balls on the North Shield Coronet, and it was really horrible. And they were like, oh yeah, we heard about that. And I said, well, you're not horribly insulted. You're not like some kingdoms that, oh, you have defiled the coronet. We will make war upon it. And they're like, no, worse things have happened. We've had a lot of strange things. We have a sense of humor. We got them back. They were washed. Everything was good. But I was not personally involved in the pictures. I was just around there when James, ran up and giggled and then eventually put the coronet back in the tent of the crown prince. And this is probably going to cause some problems, but I apologize.
Oh no, absolutely. So I want you to know that I plan on asking him this next week.
Oh, please
And
do.
I'm just wondering if I'm going to get the same story, or I'm going to get it with roles reversed.
Oh no. James will be truthful about that particular story.
All right, I will take your word for it. So.
Thank you.
And along that line of questioning, excellently heroic. Would you like to tell an embarrassing story from Squirehood, or something that you thought was cool when you were a youngin'?
I would love to tell an embarrassing story about John Squirehood, but I don't know any bad stories about John Hughes and Squire. That was before I started in the SCA.
Well, I meant from your own, but that's funny.
Yeah, I think he was talking about you. All right.
I was a model squire. I never did anything wrong at all. I was once told that I was the best squire in the kingdom. Wasn't true, but no. I really didn't do a lot of mischief as a squire. I had a squire brother that handled all the mischief for us. It wasn't until later that I got in trouble. No, probably the funniest line that I have. No, that really. Sorry, got nothing. I'm actually trying to find something embarrassing. So when I first became a squire, my knight gave me very solid information. Never do anything that you would be afraid to explain to Countess Ella, which was Earl Richard's wife. And I was young enough to be a person that could be scared straight. So anything that I did that would get me in trouble, I did out in the open in front of everyone. Yell at a knight for acting up, or yell at someone else for acting, because it was always my mouth that got in trouble. So everyone saw it. There was no hiding it. There was no. I had the moniker of the direct squad. So if you had a problem, you needed something dealt with, they would grab me and take me to it and just be like, point me and just fire me off in a direction.
Like a trouble-seeking missile.
Like a trouble-seeking missile.
When I was a squire, I never liked the good squires. Just tell me.
There's not a good squire.
All right. So let me look through. I'm looking through these questions here, and we've got a good one here from. Oh God, I'm gonna murder this name. See, and this is the horrible thing for me is trying to pronounce all of these names. Okay, so this is from Sir. I'm gonna say Sigvaldir Bjarnason from Cade. I hope I said that right. Please, if I didn't, we'll meet on the field and you can smack me around. So what do you say to an unbelt that is getting frustrated with a plateau and building their fighting skills? What advice?
Just keep doing what you're doing. I'm kidding. It's the most frustrating advice that anyone will ever give you, is just keep doing what you're doing. No, if you're getting frustrated with your fighting skills, if you're beating a plateau, change something. If you're a sword and shield fighter and and that's what you want to focus on, change the length of your sword, change the size of your shield, change the shape of your shield. Fight with a blade, fight with a great sword. Do something different so that you can see how you're fighting from a different angle or a different way or a different look. Take a break. Focus on service for a little bit. Focus on something else. Make some kind of change to what you're doing so that you can refresh the way you're looking at things. And as often the case, watch some fighting breakdown videos. plateaus. Get someone to break down your fighting if that's what you need. If that's how the feedback works for you. Everyone's going to learn it a little bit different. So try to find a way of changing the way you're learning. Be that from changing your equipment or changing your rig. Go to a lighter rig, go to a heavier rig, change to a heavier or a lighter sword. Those are the things that got me past stuff. And a lot of the other thing that got me past plateaus was breaking down my fighting through video. I videotaped every fighter practice. I videotaped every tournament. I videotaped everything that I went to. And I studied my fighting and what my opponents were doing to me so that I could learn how to get past that and how to break my bad habits.
I think you need to focus on the main word there, which is frustration.
Right.
In golf, they call it the yips. It's something causes you to just be a little off. And if you're frustrated in what you're doing and you don't think you're advancing, part of everything that Ulrich said is great. But frustration is not going to get you over it. Frustration is not going to, increase your enjoyment of fighting. So like Ulrich said, change things up a little bit. Take a small break. Do something else. Do whatever you need to do to control your attitude about what you do not like about what you're doing. Everybody hits plateaus. I don't care who you are. At some point you will reach a stopping point. It can be a pause. It can be the way it is forever. What you have to do is find some way to make sure that you still enjoy it. So, but if you step out on that field and you get, angry or disappointed and that's the way you do it, then try to work on not doing that. And there's a ton of things you can do. If you've reached the best you can be, so be it. Be happy with it. Like Ulrich said, spread out, do things a little bit differently. But the one thing you will not do is learn from frustration. If you are not relaxed and you are not getting a kick out of what you're doing, then first let's address that. If you can do that, then a lot of things change, a lot of things alter, and pretty soon you're back on, regardless of your skill level, whether or not you have fun. And that's a win-win anyway. But if the frustration is too much, that will pretty much guarantee that you stay where you are at. And that you could take that to anything you do in the society, whether it's fighting or any types of arts and sciences or service. If you get frustrated, like again, what Ulrich said, it's a great thing. Change something up, step back, find out what it is that will make you not so frustrated and give you, enjoyment, and get comfortable with you.
Excellent. Well said, gentlemen. Well said. So if you guys don't mind going over just a little bit, I just got a couple more questions in here that I really want to get through to you. First, this one comes from Katie Bug. What was your favorite knighting? I'm guessing that you know this person from your giggles. But what was your favorite knighting?
Katie Bug. Katie is my son's wife, and they're both watching this, and they're not in the SCA, but they follow the SCA. Been around a long time, seen a lot of really good knightings. My favorite, the best one was the knighting of a gentleman by the name of Lee Freebrand, who was a really close friend of mine. He is one of the few people who got into the SCA, and they step out on the field, they go into a hall, they go into a meeting, and you just look at them as if that they're complete, that they found the organization. The organization will benefit from them more than they will of it. And it's just a matter of time before they are successful. And Lee was that. He's another all natural of what he did, unassuming. He was just a good man. His wife wasn't in the SCA. Every event, he would either get up in the middle of the night on Saturday nights or get up early Sunday morning and hurry home wherever he was, 4, 6, 8 hours away to get back to his wife and his family. Because that was the man he was. That was the person he was. So when Lee, the Crown elected to, when I got the opportunity to knight him as the Crown, it was just one of the biggest honors I've ever had, just to see somebody so perfect for the organization, for what he fit in that job. And he was just, it was just a great ceremony. Just not because I did it, not because there are a lot of other people, they didn't release dubs, but because you got to see a truly deserving individual, humble, and who did nothing but make armor and weapons for other people, get something that made all of us better and kind of justified having an order of chivalry in the first place. He was just a good person. And I was very proud to be part of that.
That's awesome.
So I don't know if it was the best knighting I ever saw. It was the best view I ever had of knighting. I had the great honor of knighting someone. I'm also going to kind of follow John's lead here and pick someone that I knighted. But I'm also going to probably break a couple of rules and tell a little bit about how a circle works sometimes. So in Meridiers, we have a rule that no one brings up your squire but you. It's an unspoken. It's not written in anywhere. It's just it's a tradition. It may be in the charter now, but I don't think so. It's a tradition that you bring up your own squires. Usually, we have a way of doing that. People tell us, "Hey, why aren't you bringing up Susie?" And when you bring up Susie, everyone has their say. So Sir Earl Richard brought up one of his squires. He said, "Hey, we're not ready to go forward on this guy yet. I just want to know what you guys think of my squire, Ingolf." And we were literally pelted by 20 knights' chains. People going, "Use my chain." Usually you hear stories about when you hear about knights throwing their chains, they're saying they're arguing. These were all people that were so like, finally, you bastards have brought him up. And we're like, so we got to do that one right after the meeting. Shortly after the meeting, he was fighting the tournament during the meeting, and the tournament ended. We held a impromptu court on the field, and did that. I completely flubbed the knighting to the point that I actually had to. I literally dialed a duke in the middle of the ceremony to get the next line because I'd forgotten it for our standard meridian ceremony, and then I totally botched the buffet, and we just lived with it. And it was the best knighting, one of the best knightings I've ever been privileged to see from any angle, because the populace were ecstatic about the candidate. The order was ecstatic about the candidate. Everyone was happy. And it was just a joyous day. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Great question, Katie Bug. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, wait, I've got so this one just really intrigues me, and this is from the Baroness Anne de Tournai. Do you have a favorite battle dinosaur? If so, what and why?
Well, it has to be the Triceratops, because you've got your built-in weaponry right on top. You have a shield for your lower body. You're already covered. So you have a spot right there at the back of the neck to ride into battle on. Throw your lance over the top. You get an extra weapon. You're golden. Besides, T-Rexes have these tiny arms, right? So they're never gonna get to you.
Yeah, see, that's one of my nicknames is T-Rex because I got a big head and little arms. So, Your Grace, favorite battle dinosaur?
I hate to say this, Logan, but I'm all about the Allosaurus because the T-Rex gets all the good press, and the Allosaurus is fiercer, meaner, nastier than that little short arm bugger. And I always thought, being the underdog and some things was good, but my battle, most people I guess would think like, well, he's gonna pick a cave bear. Nah, I like the Allosaurus. Got some class.
Excellent, excellent. So I've got one more viewer question, and then I got one more question from me before we have to get wrapped up here. So this one comes from, once again, I'm going to butcher this name. This is Neve Ingehen Egoheim. And then they put GA, so which is either Glen Albin or Georgia. I'm not sure. But what have you found to encourage you most on your way to becoming a peer? Support around you, or was it the goal alone that got you to where you are?
Encouragement was just that's a tough question. Put that back on the screen. I want to look at that. That's a tough question. I'll take I got in the SCA when 10 types were the way that we took pictures. So I was made a knight fairly quickly. Inside of 3 years, I was kind of a natural, and there were only like 4 people in the SCA back then. So that explains my fortune. But my pelican was at some point I actually started to pay attention to things beyond, just a bunch of fighters or this or that, and actually started participating in the things that makes everything work. Every there's the concept in any peerage is the most important or runs the SCA is stupid. In my personal opinion, I have to be very careful because I don't like using that word. But
put the banner up.
but please, but I actually thank you very much. I actually got a chance to just kind of step back and watch what other people had done, and I thought, well, that's pretty good. Autocratic events, work control, doing arts and sciences, running offices, not exchequer. I was never going to ever be an exchequer. I can't handle money worth squat. But I started thinking about everything that was going on around me. Is 1 minute you're laser focused on whatever it is in the essay, and then every now and then you get knocked back on your heels and you get to see everything around you. And I was able to actually see, we're like a tree with a billion roots, right? And every root is important. Everything that helps the body get better and grow and survive. And that was, I was kind of wanted to be part of something that supported me for a long time. So I had aspirations, I would kind of at one point wanted, maybe I could be a pelican, maybe I could do service, but I reached a point where I couldn't ignore what everybody else was doing and what everybody else was picking up and shouldering on their own. So that taught me to focus again on the trip and not the end. And that probably made the biggest change in me in the society of anything, is to get a little more perspective from what everybody does. And that made me inspired to be better than I had tried to be before, but not morally better, but just maybe work a little harder or don't take things for granted. And that helped me branch out into a ton of other things that, because of what I saw and what I was inspired by, if people who knew me the first 15 or so, 20 years in the SCA would say I'm still around now doing other stuff, they would be frigging appalled. It's like, how could this big rattan chewing person have actually changed? And it was because of what other people did. So that's, inspiration towards working for something is important, but not as much as inspiration to make you want to maybe become part of something that other people are doing so much better than you are. And that helped me. It helped me be a better peer, helped me be a better knight, helped me change a lot of things that I was preconceived not to have changed in my limited scope.
Yeah, follow that. That's big. Thanks for that. Woo. So I'm going to kind of go to a little bit of a story I told last time, which was I never thought I would be a knight. I thought I might be able to one day win crown lists, might be able to one day be a royal peer. I never thought I'd be good enough to be a knight. That was just something that, I wanted to walk the path. I wanted to do what I wanted to do, but I accepted years before I ever became a knight that wasn't going to be a goal that I attained. It wasn't going to be something that I achieved. And the SCA on that path took this rock that had been thrown into a river and had all these sharp edges on it. And the river of the SCA flowed over it so much that it rounded all that stuff off. And it didn't change who I was, but it made it less painful to go over. So it smoothed off the edges, right? There's a saying that a peer should be able to be dropped anywhere in the SCA and without an SCA group around them, and be able to spring up an SCA group there and be a steward of the society. So my big thing was to learn to give back to the society that gave me so much in my life. It's given me a wonderful. I didn't meet my wife in the SCA, but we married after I got in the SCA. It gave me friends, it gave me family, and it's done. And it helped me get through the passing of my mom. It did a lot of stuff for me, and the people around me. And this is to get to the actual answering of the question. The people around me raised that up. That allowed me to become a better person. The goals and the requirements of the society did that for me. And that's what helped me. People like John, who, when I was messing up as a squire or a knight or a crown, was like, hey, don't do that. This is why. It was never, don't do that, you're messing up. It was, don't do that. This is why. This is how you have to approach these things. This is what it hurts when you mess up in that way. And so it was always a lesson with the correction, and it was always done with love. And that's the thing that helped me become a better peer and helped me on my way to becoming a peer. And when I said to someone in my vigil for to become a knight, I don't belong here. I shouldn't be here. And that knight looked at me and said, I sat in a council with 40 people, and they all said you were a knight. Well, most of them. There were a few. Most of them, they said you were a knight. It's the height of arrogance to tell them that they're wrong.
Yeah. I have to agree with that knight. I know how you feel though. But yeah. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on this evening. I've had a fantastic time. I've only got one more question for you. And that question is, when you are gearing up, either getting ready for a tournament or a war, or you're just, going to work on your gear, making sure it's all up to snuff, or you just need a little bit of inspiration to get your medieval mind going. Are there any books, movies, music, television shows, internet shows like this one that you use or watch to help you get into that mind frame?
So I actually have several shows that I watch on a regular basis, because pandemic, and you got to have something to keep you engaged in the SCA. I watch this show on a weekly basis. I watch Between Two Peers.
Yes.
I watch Sean. I watch Coach's Corner. Both of their shows. They have one show that comes on after hours, and I even watch that on the replay, which is their fighting breakdown show. And then every Tuesday night, and this is the one I'm really going to call out. Every Tuesday night, I participate in the Great Fights of YouTube, where we sit around and watch YouTube fights from 9 p.m. Central to 3 in the morning. And we've gone through all the kingdoms. We've gone through a whole bunch of stuff. It's just a great bit of camaraderie and hanging out and some jock talking fighting.
I really love that show.
So June 13th, 1979, I was at an event. I was in a cot outside of a tent. Didn't bring my tent with me. And I had a dream. I had a dream about Ask the Knights. And I knew that sometime in the future, that type of show would embrace what we try to do and exemplify it. And I've waited 40 years. Yes.
Finally.
Well, I appreciate the hell out of that. So, I mean, if you're not watching every week, that out of the man himself.
But thank you very much.
Nice timing, Cal.
The shows, like there's a dozen. This show, Between Two Peers, Live from Kaid, the fighting shows, the teaching shows, the two Laurel shows. There's just the DEI regular weekly stuff. There's just everything. I get great enjoyment. It has definitely helped through this crappy ass not seeing. And I am a crab, right? I'm a crabby old dude. I don't really I can't miss to see hug people, but it's been bad for me. So I know it must be bad for everybody else to not see people. And these shows have been great. I watch, these have just all been an inspiration. Unless there's a show that comes on that talks about the Camelot legend, because that's the worst POS legend ever. And sometime we get a chance, we have a beer, I'll tell you why I hate that particular legend. But shows like this, Shep's show is great. Thank you for doing this, because it is definitely a glue we need to keep us all together. And I'm kind of hoping everybody keeps a lot of this going after we have events every now and then. May not be as I guess it's desperately needed, but it is needed, and touching base, and it certainly spreads the different cultures we have in the SCA, and that inspires me.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. And I'll tell you, one of the best things is I've lived in a lot of different kingdoms. Is just the nature of my job before, and that gave me a really interesting perspective. Just moving around, but what I've seen from the ESCA is we get all these shows from all these different kingdoms, and the interkingdom anthropology is it's been amazing. Like, there's so many interesting, just minor differences from kingdom to kingdom, and it's giving us an opportunity, to ask about them. Americans, we don't move around much, we don't visit much, and even in the SCA, like, you may go to a couple of the big wars, but that doesn't really get to let you get to know about any place that doesn't have a large gathering, SCA gathering. So when you get a show coming from one of those places, and you can call in or write in or whatever and ask them about how they're doing things. I love it. You know what I mean? Like it's like studying history all over again, but this is SCA history. The history of people who like history. Absolutely weird, wonderful. I love it. The sisters interview, Between Two Peers, Between Two Privies. If you haven't seen that, you just look it up. Yeah. Between Two Privies. Yeah. It's a good show. It's very entertaining. So thank you, gentlemen, once again for being on the show, answering all these crazy ass questions. Thank you all out there in internet land for viewing. You know how much that we love and care for you, and how much your support means to us. And next week we've got Duke James the Holy and Duke Uther von Ziemer. I hope you'll come and see us, because it should be another riot.
So Uther, by the way, was my squire, and James is from my line too. So I know those two gentlemen. I'll be there. I have my own questions.
My helmet.
Well, hey, you can start sending in your questions immediately. Go to the Ask the Knights Live page, and you can start shooting them at us there, and we'll put them in the question list. So once again, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, viewers. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for having us.
Bye, everybody.